Now, there were a couple notable admissions, Big Tones, and two in particular, Yunus Musah and Joe Scally, were left off for coaching decisions. They are completely healthy, and Mauricio Pochettino elected to go a different direction. And when asked about it in the press conference, he gave a bit of a prickly answer. He said this: there are not too many players around the world that they don't depend on the level. But you can talk about it. I don't know. Maybe you can ask me why Messi's not in the roster. No, this type of player like Maradona, Pelé, I don't know. But when you were talking about different names, I think you need to respect the players that are here. So ultimately what he's saying is like, yes, of course, if Messi and Pelé, Maradona aren't in the team, then I'll answer that question as to why they're not in camp. Because those guys are aliens. They're the best of the best. But when we're just talking about, and this is what me and Paul Tenorio talked about on Thursday. If you're just asking us about regular guys, like I don't need to I don't need to explain myself with just like regular dudes. What are your thoughts on his answer, Big Tones? And then ultimately, are you surprised he left off Yunus Musah and Joe Scally?
His answer is a little bit odd to me, right? We've seen managers, including Mauricio Pochettino, who have answered that question before this camp, right? I think he kind of said, okay, now it's time to just talk about the guys that are here moving forward. That's kind of what I got out of it. Thomas Tuchel's had to answer why Phil Foden and Jude Bellingham aren't in camp, and a couple other guys, Jack Grealish as well, and he's answered those questions, right? You know, I don't know if you caught him in the moment. I don't know if you caught him, at the time in his career where he said enough is enough. I was a little bit surprised. But with regards to the guys that are left off, just my opinion, is I'm not surprised about Yunus Musah because he really hasn't settled in just yet to become the player that we think he can be at Atalanta. He's still got some work to do there, although he's getting some minutes now. Joe Scally, that's the one that surprises me because we're just talking about this has been sort of a merit-based roster, right? This is guys have earned this. Joe Scally plays week in and week out in the Bundesliga. And I'm getting the sense, I don't know, could it really come down to a golf cart ride in the end? I don't know. Maybe it can. Maybe that's a sign for a manager that says this guy's not good for my locker room or something. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out in my head because the Scally one to me is the one you don't bring him into this camp when he's played already essentially in a back three for you. That one I'm a little bit surprised. I think if he doesn't come in November, Joe Scally, and he's still playing at his club, Chuck, I think then maybe we can start to read that he's not a Mauricio Pochettino guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to give any context to the golf cart incident? Apparently,
yes. Apparently, there's a story out there that there was some donuts being done in a golf cart. I will say this: I can see how managers around the world would take that as like disrespectful. Now, again, they're rumors. They're out there. If it's that or it's something else, there's something, Jimmy. Because we got this new show. I'm going to steal the title of the new show that we have here. Numbers don't lie, right? The numbers don't lie in that Joe Scally's playing every week. He's healthy every week. He's played for a couple years now, every single week. So that's why they don't add up. And in the end, it could just be, hey, that's not my kind of player. It doesn't matter how much he plays at his club team. It's not the guy that I like. So we have to take all of that into account. I just thought this camp, I don't know. I'm thinking you guys both had him on your roster projections. I know I did, and I'm pretty sure you guys did too. I can't remember, but that was the one that surprises me.
Yeah. Okay, that's a big one. How about you, Chuck? Give us your thoughts on Yunus Musah, Joe Scally. Just the comments. I don't know if you want to jump in here on that. I will say very quickly, Joe Scally plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach, and they are terrible this season. Absolutely terrible.
They are terrible, and so doesn't Gio Reyna. So Gio Reyna is
I forgot Gio plays there too. He's just injured. Yeah,
in a different situation, as he just needed playing time, and he needs to just find a rhythm and find joy and find health as he's still battling. Just staying fit. So unfortunate situation for him, but can he, come by March, can he put 2 months together of consistent playing time? That's going to be the challenge for him, because when you've been out for so long, there's so much you got to catch up on in terms of your body adjusting to training every week, to matches every week, recovery. So the balance of pushing yourself, getting stronger, which he needs to do. He needs to build back his strength in his legs, but at the same time, monitoring your situation after you've depleted yourself and depleted your muscles post matches. It's a really delicate balance, and typically the balance that I got wrong more times than not when I was coming back from all the surgeries that I had to come back from. So it's one of those things where we're hopeful. You know, you got to be patient, but it's a long road ahead of him. In terms of Yunus Musah, we had him on the show. He asked for a break. I don't think that went over really well with Mauricio Pochettino. To Tony's point, there are some things that maybe he doesn't really appreciate or respect or agree with, whatever the situation is. And so now you're on the back foot.
Yeah.
And you gotta kind of figure out a way to get to the front of the line. And so for me, not only did he go back to Milan when I think there were a lot of questions, like, does he return? Does he not? He goes back. He plays, but then he still moves. And he's lost a whole preseason of adjusting to a new team of eventually that's what was going to happen. So he goes to Atalanta, which was inevitable that he was going to leave. He was never going to be the first choice at Milan at this point. So you go to a side that is already set in that position with veterans. We're talking the captain, Ederson, who was linked to some of the biggest clubs in the world, and Pasalic is someone who can also play in that deep role, but he's also playing more advanced role. So he's in a really difficult situation. So for Yunus Musah to really get back into the picture, he's got to play.
Yeah,
and to break into that side enough, you got to say, hey, job well done, because that is a really difficult midfield to break into. So he went from one pretty bad situation to another in terms of, man, this team is pretty much set in the midfield. And so he's got a lot of work to do to get back into the picture.
I think also, and we've seen this, we've probably been or suffered from it at some point, when a coach makes up their mind about you, maybe you didn't play particularly well, or maybe you're kind of on the fence about whether he wants you, and then there's something else that happened, whether it's doing donuts in a golf cart and being disrespectful like Joe Scally apparently did, or Yunus Musah saying he wanted out. Now you've given that coach a little ammunition to kind of connect a dot, like a red dot in this particular instance, where like, hey, you know what? Maybe this guy isn't for me, and this has solidified it for me. And that's a tough spot to get out of. I just want to throw that out there. All right.
But before we even do that, this is the thing that kind of I've been struggling with to understand. If you're in a position where you need to move on, right? You have a feeling things haven't gone well. Wouldn't you say, you know what? I got to play in this Gold Cup to boost my stock.
I agree. To
show
a no-brainer.
I'm ready for the next move. Instead of taking a break when you didn't play that much, and you come back to the same situation, and then you got to move. And clubs are kind of unsure of where you are because you didn't really play that much, where you could have had a whole summer to play international football. So
it's a great show.
Yeah, it's a tough position.
And you wonder what the communication was like. And there's a lot of talk, a lot of narrative around the communication and lack thereof from Mauricio Pochettino to the players.